I don't know exactly when the problems in my marriage to Catherine began. At the time of writing, we had been married for 25 years. The first 10 years were probably good. I don't know when the sarcastic remarks and humiliation began, especially in front of her friends. Perhaps after 20 years, our sex life disappeared, but I didn't complain. Catherine didn't look very good, and excessive drinking and smoking had caused her to gain a lot of weight. Watching her roll over in bed was quite unpleasant. How long it took her belly to reach her shoulders, and how it bounced when I finally lay down on the bed. Perhaps it was the weight gain or excessive drinking that led to her unpleasant snoring. Every time I mentioned it, it was like lighting dynamite. After 20 years of marriage, I moved into the guest room. By nature, I tend to avoid conflict, which is strange because my job as a forensic accountant involves a lot of conflict. After a day of arguing at work, I didn't need it at home. To keep myself sane, I worked 60 hours a week, plus time at home. If I wasn't working, I was coaching one of my two sons' soccer teams. When I wasn't on the soccer field, I was working out in the home gym I had spent over a decade building. Mostly, I was busy avoiding Catherine's verbal abuse and trying to maintain my self-respect, but life has a way of making adjustments. I was 10 years older than Catherine and had always planned to retire at 62. All the men in my family died at 65 from heart disease, and I was going to enjoy at least some of my retirement benefits. By the time I retired, my sons had outgrown football and my days as a coach were over. Now, I had more time to spend at home with Catherine. I don't know if the insults became more frequent or if I had more distractions at work, but I started to fight back. This only exacerbated the cycle. Minor comments that I had previously ignored turned into arguments. With the boys away at college, we had no reason to hold back. To get away from Catherine even more, I started going camping. At first, it was short day trips, then overnight trips, and then almost a whole week. I enjoyed being in the mountains, away from Catherine. The time apart didn't bring us closer together. It seemed like Catherine was inventing new insults for me while I was gone. The second year of retirement was even worse. During my second year of retirement, when I needed to escape the winter, I bought an apartment in Florida. Or rather, we bought an apartment in Florida. Catherine helped me choose it, and then enjoyed furnishing and decorating it. I think we even got along well during that period. We planned to spend our vacations there, and eventually retire to a warmer place than our current home in the Northeast. All the good feelings from buying the apartment disappeared a few months after the purchase when a fall hurricane hit that area of Florida. I decided to go there on Halloween to assess the damage. My neighbor reported that the screens had been torn off my porch. Fortunately, our small neighborhood escaped most of the damage reported in the news. Catherine was upset that I had left. I tried to explain to her that I really needed to assess the damage inside the apartment. It took 2 weeks to repair the windows. Fortunately, that was the only damage to my apartment. The rest of the neighborhood looked like a war zone. I got home just in time to prepare for Thanksgiving. We always hosted both of our families. Depending on which nieces and nephews were coming, we could have up to 30 people in our house. We always prayed for good weather. When I got back, Catherine was even more unpleasant. We couldn't agree on anything. We had been hosting Thanksgiving for 12 years. Arguing didn't help, so I said, "Whatever you want," and agreed to everything she wanted. That seemed to make her even angrier that Thanksgiving was a disaster. There were 28 people in the house, and it was cold outside. To make matters worse, Catherine's nephew, a drug addict, brought his dog, a big dog, that thought he was a person. It annoyed me that she didn't ask me about it beforehand, because she knew I hated dogs. The only thing Catherine and I were good at was cooking Thanksgiving dinner. I cooked the turkey and potatoes, and Catherine did everything else. We had a well-oiled system, well-oiled until it was invaded by a 220-pound furry dog. By the time dinner was on the table, I was a nervous wreck. The second part of our well-oiled system was washing the dishes and making dessert. I would rinse the dishes and load them into the dishwasher, while Catherine and I would set the table for dessert. The damn dog kept getting in the way, licking the dishes in the dishwasher and jumping on the table, trying to eat the dessert we were preparing. I started yelling at the dog, and Catherine started yelling at me for yelling at the dog. She talked to me like I was a 2-year-old, and I was ashamed of how she treated me in front of my brother. I left without saying goodbye to my brother, my wife, my children, or anyone else in the house. I went for a walk and ended up at a bar a few blocks from home. In the 20 years I had lived there, I had been to that bar 3 or 4 times, and this was the first time without Catherine. Getting drunk was not an option. After a couple of whiskey shots, I spent several hours sipping beer. When I returned, everyone was gone, and my sons were very worried about me. But I assured them that I was fine. I went to the guest room and packed my things. The sun was just rising when I drove back to Florida. I figured Catherine was probably tracking my cell phone, or maybe she just didn't care. My sons could have been tracking my phone too, although they texted me frequently to ask if I was okay. After a couple of weeks in the Florida sun, I felt much calmer and wanted to go home for Christmas. I texted Catherine that I would be home on the 23rd. She replied, "No, that's ridiculous. It's our home," I said. It escalated into an argument. She sent me long messages detailing all the terrible things I had done and how I had embarrassed her on Thanksgiving. We exchanged numerous messages about who had embarrassed whom. Then she said, "You left, and you can't just come and go as you please." "Fine," I said. "If I can't stay, I want a divorce, and we can sell this damn house." "Fine," she said, "and you can sell your damn apartment." The divorce was painful for me. She's a damn bitch and got half my retirement fund. It's just not fair. But by the following summer, we were officially divorced. Catherine had to sell the family home by July 31st of the following year, and I had no deadline to sell my apartment. 7 months later, Catherine shocked me by asking to spend a couple of days in the apartment to talk to me. I agreed, since half the house belonged to her. I had to emphasize that. She flew in and refused my offer to pick her up at the airport. After she arrived, we sat across from each other at the kitchen table with glasses of wine in our hands. "What do you want, Catherine?" "I need more time to sell the house. My car broke down and I had to buy a new one. I need a 3-bedroom apartment, and decent ones start at $3,000 a month." "I agree, until our youngest finishes school, and then we'll revisit the issue. The house is paid for, but after July 31st, you'll be responsible for all the expenses, including taxes and insurance." "Thanks, it'll still be cheaper than renting an apartment." She sat there twirling her wine glass, and I could see her eyes filling with tears. "Catherine, you didn't fly here to ask me that simple question. I flew here to apologize for how I treated you." I handed her a box of tissues. It was the first time she had ever apologized to me for anything. "Do you really think an apology will change anything? When you weren't here for Christmas, my sister tore me to pieces. Almost every woman in our circle dreams of a husband like yours, and you drove him away. And for what? You put my son and his dog above your husband. You're a damn fool." She insisted I see a psychologist. I followed her advice. The psychologist analyzed my relationship with you. I answered all her questions positively. "You are an ideal father who always took care of our boys, trained them, and was a positive role model, even though you had a very stressful job. When we had events, you were always there, cooking and washing the dishes. We weren't rich, but we had everything we needed, and every year you took us on great vacations. I don't think you gained a single pound in the 20-plus years we were together. But I knew all this even before the therapy session because my friends always reminded me of it. I was often accused of stealing your youth, even though you were 10 years older than me. Comments about how fit you were during our summer barbecues by the pool. All my friends dreamed of a husband like you when we had parties. You did a great job landscaping the backyard. The list goes on and on. Instead of being grateful, I envied you. That's the word my therapist used. Before you retired, my friends always teased me that you would cheat on me because even at 50 you were still handsome. I told them that was impossible, that I always knew where you were. And when you retired, my friends, who had Catherine you just a month ago, turned against you. You were supposed to become a house husband, cleaning the house, doing the laundry, and cooking dinner every night. And when you started going on week-long hiking trips, they were convinced you were cheating on me. Who goes to the mountains alone for a whole week? They asked. I let them turn me against you. On top of that, there were the usual things every woman goes through. Menopause, my breasts sagged, wrinkles appeared, I gained weight. Men stopped paying attention to me, I became invisible. They walked around me to look at some pretty girl. According to the psychologist, to cope with my low self-esteem, I needed to humiliate you. The psychologist listed all the ways I treated you. I was horrified to hear myself tell her what I had said. And you still bought me roses. Why are we going through this, Catherine? It can't be fixed. Wait, it gets worse. In my sophomore year, when you started traveling for work once a week, I would go to a bar at the end of the block. I would put on makeup, wear a pretty summer dress, and start drinking. I liked the attention from men. Eventually, I went home with a guy, let him sleep with me, and do other things to me. I felt disgusted with myself. The sex was disgusting, but I was thrilled that someone found me desirable. That summer, I did it 2 more times. I hated myself, and hated you even more, because without you, I would never have done anything like that. God, how I hated you. I know I made your life hell. The last straw was how I humiliated you on Thanksgiving Day. Catherine emptied her glass, and I refilled it. I didn't know what to think. Catherine's infidelity didn't bother me as much as I thought it would. And what good would this anger do? I was enjoying the good life in Florida, even though I wasn't interested in the women who flirted with me every day. Catherine, is this supposed to make me feel better? Not really, according to my therapist. The confession is supposed to help me feel better. I guess this will be another round of verbal abuse. You don't look as angry as I thought you would be. What's the point? I'm not happy about it, but considering how you've treated me for the last 12 years, your infidelity isn't even in the top 10 worst things you've done to me. I deserve this, she said. Anything else, Catherine? Because after that bombshell, I want to go to bed, and the sight of you is making me sick. She really started crying hard and whispered, one more thing, please, before you go to bed. We sat there looking at our wine glasses. And finally she looked up and said, I have breast cancer, stage 3. I'm going to lose my left breast and probably my right. Then she started sobbing uncontrollably. I rushed over to her, hugged her, and she buried her head in my shoulder and continued to sob. 2 minutes ago, I hated her with every fiber of my being, and now I was holding her in my arms. I need you. You've always been my rock, even when I hated you. I don't know if I can get through this without you. Please, let's go home. We sat down on the couch after standing in the kitchen for what seemed like minutes or hours. I don't know. After sitting on the couch for a few minutes, Catherine laid her head on my lap and fell asleep within seconds. I sat there staring at my reflection on the TV, wondering what the hell I was going to do. When important decisions came up in my life, I always tried to choose the right option, not the one I wanted. Catherine knew that about me. Part of me wanted to throw Catherine out on the street. I think that's why she told me about her infidelity, so that I wouldn't know anything when I had to make a decision. Of course, I only had one option. Finally, I was able to slip out from under Catherine and put a pillow under her head. I took the blanket and covered her before going to bed. It's funny how I tossed and turned before finally deciding whether to go home with her or not. When I got up, Catherine was no longer on the couch. I thought she had left, but then I found her asleep in the guest room. After making coffee and gathering the ingredients for an omelet, I gently woke her up and told her breakfast would be ready soon. When she sat down at the table, I said, "I'm not going with you, Catherine. I'm very sorry you have cancer, but you've been cancer to my self-esteem, my happiness, my sense of well-being. It took me months of therapy to understand why I had suicidal thoughts so often. I know you'll promise never to do this to me again. But it's in your nature. It comes so easily to you. Eventually, you'll go back to your old ways, and that will cause my cancer to consume me. I can't risk my mental health." She looked me in the eyes, and I swear I saw the old Catherine, the sharp-tongued Catherine, ready to fire off some cutting remark. Then her shoulders slumped as she assured Catherine that my prediction had come true, except that this time she was able to keep her mouth shut. When did I become such a mean woman? Death is knocking at my door, and I'm a fucking bitch. I was a fucking bitch, and I knew I was a fucking bitch, but everyone else had to put up with it. You're kidding yourself. No one had to put up with it. Because I was pretty much the only target of your anger, I had to put up with it. As for your original question, I think your bitchiness started after our 10th anniversary. So you put up with me, you fucking bitch, for more than half of our marriage? I had my own entertainment, my career, the boys, their teams. I moved into the guest room, and as soon as the boys left for school, I started spending more time here or away from you. That Thanksgiving was the last straw. You could have found someone else in the last 10 years. Catherine, do you hear what you're saying? You're a bitch even at your best. Imagine if I had left you for another woman. But more importantly, you already destroyed everything I was. All my priorities were focused on the boys, their well-being, and raising them to be good people. Imagine if one or both of them became your new center of attention. I couldn't take that risk. Do you really think I'm that evil? We sat and stared at each other across the cold remains of our breakfast until Catherine looked out the window. I cleared the table and went for a walk. When I came back, she was gone. Catherine died 6 months later. I flew in to support my boys, who were having a very hard time coping with her death. After the funeral, Catherine's sister came up to me. Catherine told me she was flying to Florida in the hope that you would come back with her. I told her I was praying you wouldn't come back. After she returned, she hardly spoke to me or our brother and never told us about her condition. It was your sons who told us that she was in hospice care and had returned to your home. I visited her at your house, and she told me that she had refused all cancer treatment, surgery, chemotherapy, everything. All she would allow was painkillers. I don't know what they talked about when she was in Florida. She never told me. But maybe she finally assured Catherine how badly she treated you. In her last days, she gave me this letter for you. I never read that letter. I didn't see the point. It's in a pile of things from my old house, along with all the love letters she wrote me in the early years of our relationship.